All right, this video is going to look at quartiles, IQR, and practicing sketching box plots. So quartiles are specific percentiles. They are the 25th percentile, the median or the 50th percentile, and the third quarter or the 75th percentile. There is some information here from the text on how to find all of the different quartiles, median, interquartile range, and those types of things. But I really want to just jump into the example and give you some information. So if you want to pause and read through this, you can, but I'm going to jump down into our example and show you guys how to do this with our first example here, and then we'll do a second example as well. Okay, so there are 13 real estate prices. We need to find what's called the IQR, or the interquartile range. We need to figure out if there's any outliers, and then we're also going to sketch a box plot. And prices are in dollars. If you haven't done so already, pause this video and open up StatCrunch, and then go ahead and plug this data into variable 1, if you will. All right, so I've already done that, and then I've also done what's called a sort on the data. Let me show you how to do that. So if you go under data and you go under sort, select that variable. You're going to sort just in order, and then ascending is what tells it to go smallest to biggest, and just tell it compute. Okay, and that's just like, I did that for you, and then it will do that. All right, on this data set here, let's have it compute our 5-number summary. Now, when I say 5-number summary, what that means is the minimum, the maximum, and I'm holding control to select these, the median, Q1, and Q3. Now you can have it do the IQR as well, but I want to show you that calculation, so that I'm just going to have it do our 5-number summary and then show you what it does in this program to find it. All right, so our data set is 13 real estate houses, which means the 7th data set should be the median right here. Now, what this program does, I'm going to pull back up one note so that I can kind of show you. So we have this here 1 through 13, right? And then 7 is our median. It uses what's called inclusive calculations, which means instead of excluding the median to find Q1, it says I'm going to use these 7 to find Q1. So therefore, Q1 is going to be at that 4th point. Okay, and so if you look at our data set here in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's where it calculated as Q1. So again, that inclusive means, which is what StatCrunch uses, means it includes the median for that calculation for that first quartile, and then it will include it again down here. Okay, so we'll include 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and the 10th point in order is where Q3 will be. And you can see that right here. All right, so our min, our lowest number here is 114,950. Our Q1 is 387. Our median, our 7th data point, was at 488,800. Q3 is 639. And then our max is at 5,500,000. All right, so our IQR is the middle 50%. So we're going to subtract Q3 minus Q1 to find the IQR, or the interquartile range is what that's called. When you do that subtraction, you get 252,000. This calculation tells us what we think that middle 50% looks like, okay, versus maybe some of the extremes on the ends. And we're going to use this to find our outliers. So we're going to multiply 1.5 times the IQR. And what we'll show you here on, or what I'll show you here on the box plot, is this is our gauge on whether or not any of the data points are too far from the middle 50%. Now, if you look at our full range of data, we have to go from essentially 0 to 5 million. So I'm going to do this in millions. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 million. Our median is here, and we do the median in a box plot with a little bar like that. And then we use Q1 and Q3 to make our little box. Now, I am obviously approximating here, okay? So this is our interquartile range graphically. I then do a little whisker down here to 100,000, almost 115. Now, if you notice, I have a price range of 1 million and I have a price range of 5.5 million. But if I add, I'm not going to worry about below, because if I were to look at below Q1 for this, I'd have negative. So I'm not going to worry about that. But if I were to add 1.5 IQRs to Q3, I would get 1,017,000. So any house prices that are above this, we say are too far from being typical to be considered regular numbers in this data set. So both this house here and your 5.5 million, we call outliers, and we put them with a little dot. Then we use the next number in the data set in order to do our little line, which ends up being actually right here. Now, as far as shape and the mean, these two outliers, we're going to call this skewed right. And we know because of these two outliers, the mean is going to be greater than the median for sure. We can find that calculation if we want to. All right, let's look at another example. 50 statistics students are asked, how much sleep do you get per night? And we have a range of 4 to 10. Now this is our variable, 4 to 10. And then we have a frequency distribution. Therefore, our 5-number summary, min, Q1, median, Q3, and max, might have to be approximated based on what we see here in our cumulative frequencies. So I know our min is 4 and our max is 10. And then if you look, okay, 4 hours of sleep is not a lot. 5 hours of sleep, right, we get to 14. Let's look at the cumulative frequencies. Okay, 14%, our 28th percentile, right? So what that means is between 5 and 6, right? Once we got to that 5, I should write this. This should be 4 hours. This should be 5. Sorry about that. Okay, this is only 14% of the data. Once we get to 6, we're now at 28% of the data. which means the 25th percentile had to be hit somewhere in there. So I'm going to say 6 hours of sleep, okay, is our Q1. Similarly, okay, the 50th percentile gets hit in the 7 box, and the 75th percentile gets hit in the 8 hours block. And we're only worried about whole number of hours. Okay, so if I'm thinking about a frequency, maybe instead of drawing like this, I draw like this. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 4 has 2, we have 5, okay, so on and so forth. And once we get into this 6, that's where Q1 happens. Once we get into 7, that's where the median happens. This is where Q3 happens. And we can go ahead and draw that like a little box plot underneath, right? Then that's where that box would go. I have a minimum of 4 and a maximum of 10. That looks nice and pretty and symmetric. Okay, centered right there around 7. And so that's an example of how you can use the cumulative frequencies to also find your 5-number summary. The range we can do just from max minus min. And then IQR would be 2. Now, if you did want to figure out if there were any outliers, just to kind of reinforce that, 1.5 IQRs would be 1.5 times 2, so that's 3.5. If we had anybody in the data set over 11.5 or anybody under 2.5, oh goodness, okay, then they would be considered outliers because they're so far from that middle 50%. But we don't have anybody in that data set with those numbers, so we are good to go.